June is certainly turning out to not be Starbucks' month. I previously talked about an incident where they were taking down pride decorations and they were receiving flack for that. And in addition to that, a former regional manager for Starbucks, who just so happens to be a white woman, was fired for being white. But to give context to that story, we have to go all the way back to 2018. In 2018, two black men went into a Starbucks where they were arrested for loitering. Yes, they were actually loitering, which doesn't get brought up at all, but that's besides the point. They said that they were waiting there for a white gentleman to conduct business, but they refused to buy anything, and when they were asked to leave or purchase something, the manager there called the police and the two men were subsequently arrested. And because this was all caught on video, it went viral and sparked protests, which led up to the white regional manager being fired as a result. What I have highlighted here is the statement that was made to 911 by the employee from Starbucks who called in the incident. "Hi, I have two gentlemen in a cafe that are refusing to make a purchase or leave," said the Starbucks employee who called 911. And when the police showed up and arrested these two individuals for loitering, again, that's what they were doing, they did nothing wrong. And it even is spelled out in the article that the cops did absolutely nothing wrong. They were merely enforcing the law. But because of racial sensitivities is the reason why we're kind of in this mess, despite the fact that these two gentlemen did indeed break the law by loitering. Initially, the city's police commissioner, Richard Ross, emphasized that the officers who made the arrest followed policy. They did what they were supposed to do. They were professional in all their dealings with these gentlemen, and instead they got the opposite back. Jim Wierman, the president of the Police Foundation, a nonpartisan research organization, said the incident reflected a systemic problem with how police deal with such episodes. This is a very typical example of the difficult place police officers find themselves in every day, where businesses on one side say, "We want you to enforce the law because these people are being uncooperative and are technically violating the law." Mr. Wierman said, "Officers are trying to be sensitive because of the nature of the situation and everyone involved. The issue here is that the police are not in the wrong. What they are doing is merely just enforcing the law, which is loitering. These two gentlemen were loitering, and all they had to do was buy a freaking coffee to prevent themselves from being thrown out of the Starbucks and at that being arrested. The issue is that if you're doing something that the business does not like, such as loitering or swearing loudly, they can ask you to leave, and if you refuse to comply, they can call security or, in this case, the police and have you removed, which is ultimately what happened. However, the end result of all this is that it led to the firing of Shannon Phillips, who was the regional manager for the area. She was not the manager of the store, nor was she the employee who called the police. The individual who called the police wasn't even fired themselves. As a matter of fact, they ended up getting promoted. On Monday, in a surprising twist, a federal jury in New Jersey ordered Starbucks to pay $25.6 million to a former regional manager after determining that the company had fired her amid the fallout of the Rittenhouse Square episode because she was white. At the time of the episode, Ms. Phillips oversaw 100 stores in Philadelphia, South Jersey, Delaware, and parts of Maryland. She had been promoted to the job in 2011 after what she calls her exemplary performance in 6 years as district manager in Ohio. Ms. Phillips said in the suit that Starbucks, as part of its damage control efforts after the arrest, sought to punish her and other white employees in and around Philadelphia, even though they had not been involved in the events that led to the police being called. Ms. Phillips said she had thrown herself into the company's efforts to restore its credibility and had sought to support hourly workers, organizing managers to staff stores and cover for employees who were scared to run a gauntlet of protesters. Amid the image burnishing campaign, Ms. Phillips said one of her superiors, a black woman, told her to suspend a white manager who oversaw stores in Philadelphia, though not the one in Rittenhouse Square, because of the allegations that he had engaged in discriminatory conduct, allegations that Ms. Phillips said she knew to be untrue. In contrast, Ms. Phillips said no action was taken against the manager who oversaw the Rittenhouse Square store, a black man who Ms. Phillips said had promoted the employee who called the police. Well, because of this case, it's pretty apparent that Starbucks doesn't have much of an issue with discriminating against white people in their company as well. The unfortunate side of all this is the fact that if the two gentlemen simply bought a cup of coffee while waiting for the individual that they're going to be meeting with, this whole mess could have been avoided. Starbucks wouldn't have lost $25 million on top of the money that was awarded to these two men for being removed. And again, they were the ones that were in the wrong. They were loitering, and Starbucks had every right to ask them to leave or purchase something before calling the police. And again, they were not cooperating with the police. They simply could have left the establishment and then contacted the individual they were waiting for. But we all know this is a part of current year, and that's the issue. That's all I have for this one. Remember, folks, freedom will always be on the right side of history. If you enjoy my content, I hope you go and check out this next video that's lined up for you. This is Ian, signing off.